There you are. It's heating up this here football season. Just had the first preseason weekend, really. Tennessee fans cannot quit blaming Butch Jones. All the rain we have. By the way, notice that it hasn't been raining lately. Anyway, I'm not a weatherman. I'm not going to get into that. Weather really didn't mean a whole lot to me, especially now that I can't seem to get the top down on my convertible. So, that's a real rich man's problem. So I'm not going to elaborate on it here, but the situation is just, I've never been, it's a little cold out there, okay, we'll bundle up. Turn up the heat. A little bit hot, well, have the air conditioner. We're civilized here. It'll work for us. I'm Marky Billson, your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-City sports fans. The name of the program is Tri-City Sports Now. We own the Tri-Cities on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio because of the proverbial best guess and hardest hitting opinions in the market. Monday's show. Monday, of course, usually the manic Monday that Susanna Hoffs a generation or so ago, generation and a half now, sang about. Well, now it's the happy day because I return to the airwaves in the Tri-Cities. However, you're back at work, you're driving out and about, you're going to lunch wherever you are. You probably want to know about the football scrimmages. Now, there were only 2 members of the media at the East Tennessee State football scrimmage. I was one of them. I'm going to tell you what that was like. And in fact, if you followed us on 1420 WEMB Sports Radio's Facebook page, the most followed Facebook page of any sports radio station in the market, you would have known that that's what I'm going to be talking about to begin the show with. But traditional Monday show has Jerry Bonkowski at 1 p.m. talking NASCAR. It is race week in Bristol. I'll be, so there you go. We'll be talking the race here. The one that transpired yesterday and the one that's coming up on Saturday. Another Saturday race for NASCAR. Winston Cup. Or not Winston. Listen to me. What year am I in? Monster Energy Cup. It's just so hard to break, old habits, that sort of thing. See who's going to be winning the horse race. Well, we'll just have to read the Morning Telegraph, won't we? Okay. That's at 1:30. SoCon John Hooper, and we'll discuss what I'm going to talk about right now, and that is what to make of ETSU football's first scrimmage. Follow me on Medium, and you could have read this firsthand. We're more than a week into the ETSU football training camp. They had a session this morning. ETSU also, they played in Czechoslovakia, won a big game by about 30 points. What was it? Bo Hodges had 25 points, if you're so interested. They played a pedestrian Czechoslovakian team. I tried to look up information on them, and very little, but it seemed like they win as many games as they lose over there, and, I really think that this is kind of overblown, this European trip. My take on ETSU is what? Patrick Good can't play? He's not over there? Really? How's that hip, coming along? Anyway, more than a week into the ETSU football training camp, we know very little about who the quarterback or even the receivers are going to be for the East Tennessee State Buccaneers in 2019. This was the big question mark, and it's as big of a question mark a week in as it was before. Randy Sanders, head coach of ETSU, is not playing his hand. Now, he started Trey Mitchell in Saturday's scrimmage practice. In other words, that meant that when they were scrimmaging, he was the first quarterback out there. He said, well, he's been with the program the longest, And that either means, and that's really like, wait a minute, is he really? I mean, a whole bunch of freshmen here, But it means that Mitchell is either the story of the camp, or Sanders limited smart money starter Cade Weldon to just 3 passes before leaving with what Jeff Birchfield of the press reported as being banged up because he didn't want to risk his top quarterback to have further injury. The severity of Weldon's injury right now, unknown. Thank you, NCAA, for not protecting your players. QB that got the most work, in that case, no surprise, Chance Thrasher, the Coastal Carolina transfer. He threw 9 passes, 41 yards. Completed 5 of them. No deep stuff, just very pedestrian. Very pedestrian. There weren't any deep ball completions that I can recall. Really not even that many throws. Receivers were routinely dropping balls. So were defensive backs, as a matter of fact. It was a 3-hour practice. Admittedly, some of it, was beginning with stretching and all of that. But only 15 passes were completed. And no receiver really stood out. I mean, you had 3 players vying for the team lead with 2 catches apiece. That's it. One of them, by the way, was Julian Price from West Green, who was a redshirt freshman and didn't play last year, but this station broadcast the Unicoi County football games, and people may remember if they are listening in our home base of Irwin. Of course, we want our signal to go, and we want you to listen if you're in Johnson City or Elizabethton or Greenville or wherever you may be. We don't want to necessarily just be the Irwin station. Kingsport, Bristol. I was driving along a rental car, new radio, could pick up the signal faintly in Abingdon. I'm told that, all that. But that's what Jet Broadcasting Live is for. All right. Anyway, like I said, passing game, even a shotgun snap went awry. So, by the way, 2 passes, I was going to say, Julian Price, who really single-handedly beat Unicoi County 2 years ago. That had been 2017. And Unicoi County at the time had won 5 of 6. They were 5-3. And a victory there would have meant a winning record in the first one since 96. Of course, last year, Unicoi County 9-3, so they got their winning record. But that was big, and Price was the deciding factor. And, West Green usually doesn't win a whole lot. West Green was second place that year in 1-3A football. And that was because of Julian Price. And so, give him the credit right there. He caught a couple of balls in a practice, scrimmage, whatever you want to call it, but didn't really stand out. I can't, I watched there, took notes, and I can't really begin to tell you, well, this is what he stood out as. Well, one thing, they listed him with the wrong number on the roster. That also didn't help his matter much. Anyway, quarterback that looked the best, probably Tyler Riddle. I told you about him when he was recruited or on the signing day, and I said of all the quarterbacks here, if you look at where they're from, the write-ups that they got in a newspaper, the stats they put up in high school, in this case Chamberlain High School in Tampa, Florida, Tyler Riddle probably had the best resume. And he probably moved the ball best for the Buccaneers. Unfortunately, he's 5'11", 174 pounds, and he has to roll out because he's that size. And at 174 pounds, you got to figure that putting him behind center this year would be barbaric. I mean, let me put it this way. Adrian Hope over at Furman. 15, 14 sacks, depending on the stat sheet. I've seen him listed with both. He's also listed at 218 pounds. Now, that's kind of, that's not that big for a linebacker. You're going to play outside linebacker, but if he's got hope in the pros, it's to be moved to safety. Unless he bulks up and can, about 10 pounds, 15, so. So that's hope. But already, here's a guy who's undersized, and he's 44 pounds more than Tyler Riddle. And that should be chasing him if Riddle was playing against Furman end of September for ETSU as their starting quarterback. So, not the playbook, but peanut butter. That's probably the road to success for Tyler Riddle, and it probably begins in 2020 and not 2019. I mean, consider this. Landon Kunak, who I believe is probably right now the odds-on favorite to be the punter, he weighs 10 more pounds than Riddell. So this is a place kicker punter weighs 10 pounds more than Tyler Riddell, freshman quarterback, ETSU. Tyree Robinson had an interception in the scrimmage, the outstanding safety. We already knew he was good, though. Many freshmen got a lot of playing time. And you can, they got 5 sacks, 6 sacks. By the way, for the Unicoi County faithful, Brett Strother did make the field, but didn't do much. I didn't see a tackle or anything. And he played like one set of defense. It's a pretty good bet he'll be redshirted, which isn't that big of a surprise, and I don't think is any real cause of concern. But a lot of freshmen did get playing time on defense, and they performed reasonably well, to tell you the truth. I mean, and that reinforces my opinion that the Buccaneers' defense will be the most stout in a Southern Conference. I mean, Nick Payne from Greenville. It's Tyree Robinson's backup. He forced a fumble in the game. But can the Buccaneers score enough points this year to win the 17-14 games that they appear to be destined to be in? I mean, that's, you see teams, built, the Steelers. I know a few years, Pittsburgh Steelers. I used to tell people, they're kind of built to win 35-28 games. Ben Roethlisberger is going to throw for a lot of yards, but, the big defensive stalwarts, they just aren't there anymore, And they say, okay, sure, Well, the Buccaneers appear to be destined to win 17-14 games. That seems to be where they're at. I picked them for second place Southern Conference. 29 people voted in the media poll. Only 2 of them had the Buccaneers higher than I did. SoCon John Hooper had them 5th. I think it's a little low. I think they'll win some 17-14 games. Then again, you can make a definitive argument that, hey, they were touched by an angel in 7 of those victories last year. I mean, if you really want to go into every single well, it's a good thing that VMI didn't have a kicker they thought could convert from 45, or else they would have sent him out in the final minute, and that was only a 2-point, quarterback throws 4 interceptions, well, I mean, that's the thing. Austin Herring got all the ink last year, but I want you to consider that in 3 of the victories, and they won 8, 3 of the victories, the deciding margin, you can say, a defensive score. The Dylan Weigel safety in a 29-27 victory against Furman, obviously. But even more than that, there were, pick 6 by Tyree Robinson against the Citadel, and that didn't, turn a late deficit into a lead, but it made the score 26-16, and a final was 26-23. And that was the last score that the Bucs had that day. Similarly, when ETSU beat Chattanooga, they scored a defensive touchdown. Final score 17-14. 4 other victories. One was a shutout against Garner-Webb, okay. Another, the 4 interception game against VMI, that's defense. 2 interceptions against Mercer, that's defense. And they held on a 2-point conversion against Western Carolina. Well, that's defense. So it was missing a 28-yard field goal, which is what the Catamounts did. Anyway, so what will the Buccaneers try to do when it's 3rd and 10? I've joked they shouldn't throw a pass all year long. Well, one intriguing possibility that I saw at the scrimmage is the I formation. Now, it's considered archaic, as, the lineman have to hold the blocks longer. The play starts 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, this is the same reason I tell you I don't like running quarterbacks. I want the play to begin 10 yards downfield, not 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. But it does provide a tailback with a greater breakaway potential, and the Bucs did experiment with it on Saturday. Remember Jacob Saylor's last year. He averaged more than 7 yards a carry. Quay Holmes, most people think, is the best running back returning in a Southern Conference, and only a sophomore. So the question is, can Sanders Pride, as a former quarterback, construct an offense designed to throw fewer than 20 passes a game? Because it might be the Bucs' best chance at success. That being said, departed quarterback Austin Herring. As I said before, he got all the ink, but it was the defense last year. The defense. Get it? That's what won the games for the Buccaneers last year. And you know what? It also won the Buccaneers games 50 years ago. This is the 50th year of the 69 Grantland Rice Bowl champions. They will be remembered at the VMI game. There'll be a nice ceremony. I think it's great. They had one in 94. I can recall that. At the Mini Dome. I think it was against Appalachian, as a matter of fact. And Now they kind of wised up and said, maybe we ought to schedule this for a game we'll win. So they scheduled it for VMI. Okay. Yeah. Shorter is just too obvious. And that'll be great. But I want to tell you something about that 69 Grantland Rice Bowl team. You know what record they set in ETSU lore? Most punts. John Robert Bell on these very airwaves. Just 23 years ago, folks, but he did it. He came in his studio and he told me, the late great John Robert Bell, hey, look, we quick kicked. And you know what? That was the way to play. I wanted the other team to have the ball at their own 10-yard line. That, I am thinking, might just be a way to win. Now, I'm not saying single wing offense. Let's punt on first down and move the ball 40 yards that way. No, I'm not suggesting that. I am suggesting, however, the I formation for a big play. Going into that, even on a 3rd and 5. Or having a deep tailback, if you maybe that isn't the worst thing in the world to do, and maybe the success of the Buccaneers, it's going to be, I know some people don't like to watch these games or these teams, but one of those teams that likes to run the ball and play defense. Avoid the mistake. I think that is the key to success for ETSU in 2019 if they want to return to the college football, the FCS playoffs. Now, I'm not suggesting punting on first down or things like that, or, trying to go after that 83 punt mark of the 69 Grantland Rice Bowl team, but I am suggesting the old fundamentals, traditional strategies like a strong running game, field position. Those strategies would favor these Tennessee State Buccaneers football team in 2019. Question is, if Randy Sanders, the former quarterback, if he, the guy who called for the 73-yard pass play to Peerless Price in the national title game 21 years ago, I guess it's 20 actually, because the game was played in 1999, will his ego be able to take an offense that really might be designed to throw fewer than 20 passes a game? And that is probably going to be the key to success for the ETSU Buccaneers in 2019. You heard it from Marky Billson. You'll hear from Jerry Bonkowski at 1 about the Michigan race looking ahead at Bristol, as well as at 1:30, SoCon John Hooper, and we'll talk about ETSU and all of the Southern Conference teams. He's written his preview of the Buccaneers. It's up on Medium. He looks and goes very in-depth on their offense. Tri-City Sports Now coming back. I'll be talking about the Tennessee Volunteers after this.
Perfect pairings.